Welcome to this episode of Trojan Poetry. Today we have a special guest, ladies and gentlemen.
I'm here.
No, not him.
Hey!
It's Mrs. Alexa Harris. Let's give her a round of applause.
Hi, thanks, team. Thanks for having me. It's exciting.
She's
Right now, it's
joining us.
exciting.
See how, no,
We'll see how it goes.
Yeah.
Thank you. I didn't know what to say after that. All right, so Alexa and John have not read the poem. I picked the one this week that we're going to read, and here we go. This is called How You Might Approach a Foal by Wendy Videlock. Hopefully I pronounced your name right. Like a lagoon, like a canoe, like you, are part earth and part moon, like deja vu, like you had never been to the outer brink or the inner Louvre, like hay, like air, like your mother just this morning had combed a dream into your hair, like you had never heard a sermon or a harsh word, like a fool, like a pearl, like you are new to the world. All right. Okay.
You're
in the hot
start?
seat.
Oh, I'm in the hot seat. Okay, cool. So I'm, how you might approach a foal. So a foal's a baby horse, right? I think a foal is even like a really, really young horse, like a freshly born, maybe stumbling around type of horse. So they're talking about how would you approach it. So I'm thinking like baby animals in general, you don't want to startle them. You want to be calm, and especially horses in captivity, a lot of times people want to tame them or have them develop a relationship with you so that you could ride them or they could be used for work or whatever it is that you want to do with your horse.
That poor horse.
I don't think you ride them when they're first born.
No, I know.
Or put them to work.
I put mine on a leash usually, but
No, like long term, you want to have a good horse relationship. So then it's describing all the ways that you would approach a possibly frightened, new to the world baby animal. I think it's really, I like the tone. I think it's really kind. Like to me, this seems like a piece of advice about how you can be the most kind to a new baby animal that you would like to have a positive relationship with. And it seems like it's talking about first being like natural things, right? So like you are part earth and part moon, like deja vu, like something familiar to the horse. And then I liked the lines, I want to say, first read, this is my favorite. Like you have never been to the outer brink or the inner Louvre. Those things would be very foreign to a horse, obviously, right? And that would be scary, and that's beyond their realm. And so you want to be like hay, like air, kind in your approach. I think it's kind. It's like a warm feeling poem to me.
Yeah, that's what I got too. And the inner Louvre, I guess I had a question about that. So the outer brink, I think like the outer edge of the cosmos. And the inner Louvre, though, like, does that something inner in us? Like I don't know. I'm just
or within the horse.
thinking.
Does the horse like art? Well, I'm serious. Like, what does that? What does that mean? Well, the outer brink, I feel like collective unconscious, like wherever we come from to be born. Into the inner Louvre, which is maybe your inner artist, or something like that.
Well, and we've talked a lot about like I like poems where it's like simple and you get it, except for
This
the
little
3 or 4
thing,
things where you're like, oh, like. What does that mean?
I really like that you brought that up because when before I saw the next line where it says or the inner Louvre, when it said like you had never been to the outer brink, I immediately thought in terms of your life, like that edge of desperation, that manic feeling that would make then a baby animal feel manic, right? But then when it brought me back to the inner Louvre, I didn't make the jump that you did, and I started thinking about, okay, so maybe the outer brink has to be a physical location because the Louvre is a physical location. But if you're suggesting that could be internal, that makes a lot of sense to me, because that was my first take on outer brink, was that it was like just a time when you were on the edge.
Yeah. And do we all have an inner Louvre? Like, that'd be pretty cool, right? Like, inside me, I have a art museum of, I don't know.
Organs.
But I also really liked... Yes.
Very literal.
Because then it goes, but then it does literally go from the inner Louvre, which is very mysterious, to like hay, like air, which is totally sustenance
and familiar to
right.
a
That's
horse,
you
right?
have to have hay and air. But then it even says like the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7th stanza, a sermon, like you've never heard a sermon or a harsh word. So like she's throwing religion in there. Like we're going way back. You need to approach this animal before any type of culture or religion or you just, and like it says, like a new world.
But you can have a dream. So she defines that line there. So any type of culture or religion, but maybe this idea that dreams are universal and they're not like a culture piece that you are introduced, you're going to have one organically. Because she says, just like your mother just this morning had combed a dream into your hair. So that's calm and appropriate, whereas a sermon or a harsh word is not.
And I really liked the rhythm, or the like a lagoon, like a canoe, like you, right? The consonants of the ends in the first two lines with the anaphora of the
Look
word
at you
like.
go with your similes.
But then the rhyming of canoe and you, I mean, those three first lines are so beautifully rhythmic and just sound beautiful.
Yeah.
So
And
that
who
was
is
really
the you
cool.
they're referring to? Sorry to jump in. You know, is it you yourself as you approach the foal, or is she speaking to someone else that she's in a relationship with? You know, like you approached me. I thought that was an interesting line.
Yeah. Do you know anything about the collection that it came from?
No, I'm not familiar with New Criterion, although this comes from the Best American Poems of 2016.
Okay.
And Sherman Alexie was the editor, so I've been picking some
Oh, sweet.
out of that book. And New Criterion, obviously, I'm going to have to look it up now. It's obviously a collection.
Yeah. I mean, criterion, I'm right, that's just like criteria, like things that you need to address or be. So this makes sense, right? So I wondered if the whole collection was how you...
Oh, that's interesting, how you do this.
Right,
Yeah.
like what are the criteria for
Yeah.
doing this or doing that?
Well, I'll be honest with you. One of the reasons I picked this poem is I didn't read very closely, and I thought that it was called "How You Might Approach a Fool."
That's what I
and
thought,
then,
too.
Yeah, and then I didn't even notice that until actually this morning when I went to make the copies.
Oh, really?
And I
funny.
realized
You're
it
like,
was
this is gonna go
how to approach a fool, and I was like, oh, that makes total sense. But I don't know. I thought how to approach a fool was kind of
You're
cool.
like,
that
fools
you would
like,
be
hey.
like very kind and
Gentle.
caring as you
Very
talk to this
gentle.
poor fool.
But then she does use fool, like
Yeah.
a fool.
Yeah, but then she throws that in there, right? And I got the same feeling that you did, Alexa, just that feeling of kindness and, quiet. And as you approach something that's just innocent and fresh to the world, how do you, because it's a sense of responsibility, right? You're the first thing,
Yeah.
the first human that this thing is going to interact with. And you want to make a good impression almost. You want to be
That's a huge
careful,
responsibility. It's almost
you
like
know?
the author here, how did we decide? Videlock?
I'm not sure.
Videlock?
Videlock, maybe?
Like
Yeah.
she is encouraging you to make that impression because you're right. If you're the first person, she's asking like, "Hey, as a human rep here, as a representative to this animal,
Right.
please do it right. You know, be kind, be thoughtful. Like she has. It's almost like she has an investment in. I want you to be nice and be warm because you're the first person this animal is gonna
And I
pay
like-
attention to.
Too, I'm noticing the line "like you" is repeated 1, 2, 3, 4 times, and that it's the weird enjambment where it says like how to approach full, like you are blah blah blah, but by stopping the line there, is she kind of implying that we are this good?
Yeah.
Right, like we have the potential to be this good to do this, to approach a foal this way, and then she kind of not qualifies it, but then gives more details about what we are. Right, we are these things like you. Does that make sense?
I like that
Yeah,
you said
we have the
enjambment. I couldn't
potential.
remember what that was called because at first I didn't like the repetition at the beginning, like a lagoon, like a canoe, like you. I was like, well, okay. But then the next,
I liked it. I liked it.
I was
You
like,
didn't
well,
like it.
I didn't like it because it wasn't the same as it
Yeah.
didn't have the A in it. And then when I realized that it swings into the next stanza, that's one of my favorite things actually. Like then I went from I don't really know how I feel about that to really liking it. Like there's a poem that I really really like by Gwendolyn Brooks called "We Real Cool," and she swings the end. Like I always just call it the swing. Your word is much cooler.
I like the swing better, actually. It sounds more hip.
So the way that those lines are connected, but I think you're right. There's some purpose in leaving like you by itself. Like maybe by itself, that's enough too, right?
Yeah, and the whole poem is a single sentence. You know, if you read,
I didn't
it's
notice
a
that, yeah.
colon here, and then it ends with a period, and so she's
Oh, it's a
listing
list,
off all
yeah.
these
Situation.
things that you should do. Right? It's like a to-do list for how you approach a baby, I guess.
It's
Yeah.
a simile
Something new
list.
to the world. List of similes. We
list
can't
of
have
similes.
horses talking trash about
Yeah.
us, so we have to make sure we treat them kindly.
Yeah, I agree.
Very cool poem, Mike.
Yeah, well,
I really
thank
like
you.
it. Nice pick.
Yeah.
Thanks.
All right, well, thanks for watching. Please join the conversation in the comments on YouTube or join us on Twitter at Trojan Poetry DGN. Also, check out our website at trojanpoetrydgn.blogspot.com.